Just remembered another story. Me 13. Summer break. Staying at grandparents' house was never the most spiritual person. Grandma thinks and is cursed or possessed by demon. She always knew a lot about these thing. I'm an Arab, so witchcraft and the like are common here. Uncle has friend who's a priest. Calls him over. They gather in the living room and tell all the kids to go upstairs. Me included think they're being superstitious and stay downstairs in another room. After a bit I start to hear ants screaming, really loud screaming. Banshee shriek. MP3 keeps going, and going, and going, lasts for about 15 minutes. Only stopping for a few seconds every 5 minutes or so. A bit after screaming stops, they get out. Ant is clearly tired. Immediately goes to bed. Grandma thanks priest friend and he leaves. Didn't sleep at all that night. My belief in the supernatural was definitely solidified after that. I always got a really weird feeling from my grandparents' house. Me a few years ago, still in high school, living with mom and brother, just got a puppy. He sleeps with my mom in her bed. We have to pick him up to get him off the bed. He was still too small to jump off on his own. One night I went downstairs late at night for some water. I grab a cup and as I'm filling it up I see him walk up next to me. Think nothing of it and check my phone. When I look back up he's not there. Assume he went into the living room or something and head back upstairs. Next morning I ask my mom why the dog didn't sleep with her last night. What? He didn't leave my room last night. I tell her that I saw him in the kitchen last night. She says again that she never took him off her bed and never opened her door to let him out. I don't have any other pets and whatever it was looked exactly like him. Not a great storyteller. Maybe I'll organize it into a proper Greentext someday. But I was in the army and had experiences that were unsettling, but don't really have resolution. Here is one that bugs me. Early 2000s, Army. Top secret clearance plus job where I get attached to all kinds of missions as one-offs. Lot of times in Afghanistan get attached to units who helicopter in. Go into a compound at night, the shooter guys do the shooting, I go in and check out the building for booby traps and evidence. One time get called to be attached to FTF, Focused Target Force. Military likes to make up silly names. Basically conventional infantry guys who got slotted in for some extra training and act as baby door kickers for missions that like Rangers or SOF or whoever don't have time. Pretty normal pre-mission, but some DOD civilians were also attached. Everybody thinks PMCs are some kinda spooky but mostly lame. The real spooky is DOD civilians. Former special whatever operators, decked out in cool guy gear. There to observe and make recommendations. Translation: they had stuff to do we weren't read on to know about. Mission happens, FTF guys go into a falling apart qualid house compound, that's clearly not lived in. Something usually used by insurgents as a drop-off point. One insurgent gets shot. I do my BDA. Check body for booby traps. Start collecting intel items. Guy has a red US passport on him. Red passports are for official US government personnel. Small notebook, flip through it and it's in English, not Pashto or anything local. Lot of numbers like NSN looking with occasional written comments in margins. Bag everything back at base. Guy comes in and takes the passport, notebook, and SD card out of my evidence camera. Never hear more about it. At his lake house on vacation, my grandpa took a picture of a ghost while he was looking at the full moon. He told me he saw it float out of the woods and he had enough time to point his camera at it. After he saw it he went inside, packed his things and went home. I have the photo and I interviewed him more about it and recorded the conversation. It freaks me out because I know he wouldn't lie to me. He's a very humble, smart, quiet man. He's simple but not stupid. We just talk about hunting cars or motorcycles, so for him to tell me about a ghost and how it scared him scares me. Greater than 3 years old, never seen anything before or since. Go to parents' bedroom after waking in the morning. My dad goes to work. Mom is in the shower. Movement in the dark. Open door. Closet. Witness 3 ghosts like pickerel in different colors beckoning to me. Hide under the covers. Crying. Using a paranormal forum. More than 20 years later I come across someone with no context describing the event exactly with provided illustration. Be perfect. Get job renovating / cleaning up hoarder homes. Miserable work, but I get $100 an hour for a 10-hour shift. More than worth it. Imo working with 2 other guys to clean up a hoarder home that an old woman died in. Body was already removed. There's still remnants from the police officers though. Whatever. We're getting the trash out. I'm cleaning up the basement. Basement was flooded about ankle height. Had these wooden pallets placed in the water for people to walk on. Notice as I'm cleaning up soggy cardboard and wet rat shit that something smells particularly foul. Like puke. Look down into the murky brown water and squint. There's a drain in the floor. It's clogged up with something. Looks like white toilet paper. Yell for the other guys to come over and check this because it could make my job 1,000 times easier. One guy pushes in the wet toilet paper shit with a broom handle. Punctures right through with ease. And the water starts draining already. He pulls the broom back. We all shit bricks as the smell not only gets worse, but we realize the broom handle was now stained bloody red. We nope and call the police. I never get told what exactly was there. We just get paid leave for 2 to 3 days while the police investigate what's in the drain. Ask my boss about it about a day before we get back to work in the most nonchalant tone imaginable. Yeah, there were about 30 dead cats down there. All of my fucking what? Here is mine. Go to bed. Start to have dream. Or assume I'm dreaming. Because I start to hear a loud scream from under the bed. Lightning strike outside. And it starts raining. I try to ignore the possible banshee under the bed. It does another loud shriek scream. I'm laying on my side. And I see a pale white hand slowly start to emerge from under the bed. It has long, sharp, pitch black nails. It slowly reaches up to my face. I'm completely frozen in fear. I assume just sleep paralysis. It lowers its hand. Then slowly scratches the wood on the base of the bed. With just one finger in one long scratch motion it screams again. And I wake up. I assume wake up cause I could move. And was sitting up in my bed. I feel relief that the nightmare is over. I look outside. It's raining and there's lightning. It wasn't raining when I went to bed. Kinda freaked out. But whatever. Probably just a coincidence. Look at the base of the bed. There's a long scratch going down the side of the bed, the side I was laying on in my dream, and it wasn't there before. That was the moment where I just decided to stay up that night and play video games instead of sleeping. Hasn't happened again since then, thankfully. Not good at Greentext, but wanna share this local story from my homeland. Be me, 8-year-old Norway fag on Sunday hike with family. Cause that's what Norwegians do. Get to a small hunting cabin right by a lake. Old as fuck. JPG. Uncle gathers the kids and says, do you know why that cabin is abandoned? Kids don't know shit, so we just shake our heads because Hans Huldra haunts this lake. Huldra are a type of Norwegian fae / troll, think Norwegian version of a siren. Looks like a beautiful woman but has a bovine tail. Pic related. Apparently 100 years ago there was 3 buddies wanna go out hunting deer. They agree to meet at the hunter's cabin. First guy arrives on time, realizes none of his buddies are there, has to wait for them. Second dude arrives the next night. First guy is missing. He searches the whole place, only finding his bag and his jacket floating in the lake. Guest Shedrone.jip notes it down in the cabin log and waits for the third guy. Third guy arrives the next day. No one's at the cabin. He searches the whole place, only finding his friend's bags and second guy's jacket floating in the lake. Something soft. Wave reads cabin log. Figures Huldra must be behind this. It's getting dark. Too late to go home. Third hunter keeps himself awake, doesn't light a fire. As to not alert the Huldra of his presence, starts cutting the back of his hand to stay awake in the dark. Suddenly he hears a sound from outside. Hunter is quiet, clutching his knife. Knowing cold iron can be used to negate fey magic, he slowly stands up and get next to the door listening. Hoping it's a fox or something, hears noise again. It's the sound of someone sneaking towards the cabin. Not gonna trapped be horny troll wink. MP4 Hunter kicks the door open, throwing knife at the shadow and books it into the woods. Since then the cabin's been abandoned. Be 17-year-old me on another Sunday hike with just uncle and dad, because that's what Norwegians do. Get to small hunting cabin by the lake again. Shit has almost rotted away. Uncle asks, did I ever tell you what actually happened at the cabin? Shake my head. Uncle tells me that during WW2 the cabin was a meeting spot for Gutta Påsken. Translate: the boys in the woods. The Norwegian resistance fighters, mostly used by a communist subsection of the Norwegian resistance. Someone in the local community really didn't like communists. Bitches started snitching to the Nazis. Nazis set up camp close to the cabin. Straight up just shoots whoever enters the cabin in the end. Word gets out and cabin stops being used. Be me sitting there realizing that I'm sitting on the spot where my fellow countrymen got executed. Don't know if the Huldra story was made as a kid-friendly version of the tale to not ruin the spot for us kids, or if it was made as some form of code passed around the farms to keep resistance fighters away from the cabin. Pic related. It's of the lake. By the nature of my job, I've had lots of spooky or spooky adjacent stories where I played the role of the MIB. I don't feel comfortable telling many of those and breaking secrecy even though it's been years. So I will only talk about things where I wasn't in the loop. I once was in Way, northeast Afghanistan, in a tiny cop and a helicopter, Black Hawk but painted Anna-style camo colors, came in with some GB/DOD guys and they had a bunch of Chinese guys in cuffs with them. Obviously not Asian-looking Afghans but full-on Chinese dudes. Helicopter did a quick refuel and took off again. You know, just stuff that makes you go hmm. This happened long ago. Be me, around 7, 8 years old, visits my aunt's house with parents. We get along well, so it was a pleasant time. Stay the night. We sleep in the bedroom next to the guest room. I was sandwiched between my parents. We were poor then, so there were only wooden walls separating the rooms. There were no ceiling and the walls didn't reach to the roof either. So I can see the whole roof by lying in bed. Our room was dark, but the guest room was dimly lit by an oil lamp. Woke up in the middle of night, can only move my eyes because of the light from the guest room. I saw something moving between the roof beams over the guest room. I couldn't make out any details. It was simply a black shadowy thing. It didn't do anything special. It just kept moving between the beams. Imagine a monkey moving around between tree branches. It was something similar. I was scared shitless, but I couldn't make any noise or movement. I tried shutting my eyes and opened them again a few times, but the thing was still there. I was scared that it would do something like jumping down, but I couldn't stop watching it. After like 5 minutes I decided to just shut my eyes and try going back to sleep. Fell asleep again until morning. That's about it. We went back home the next day. I stayed at my aunt's place a few more times in the following years but didn't see anything like that again. Sorry it wasn't that scary, but for the little me then it was terrifying. Luckily I didn't wet the bed, lol. Not really paranormal, but it was plenty weird. Go magnet fishing with brother, never find anything except old fishing hooks. Start checking Google Maps for more hidden bodies of water. Find one research area, many battles took place there. This is based. Rope other brother into it after I convince them both this small lake is going to have a treasure trove in it that will make the Staffordshire hoard look like loose change. It's only 500 feet by 200 feet and you can see all around. It doesn't seem very deep neither. Still, that treasure isn't going to rescue itself. After about an hour we found some fishing hooks. Nice day at least. Nice and quiet too. This is interrupted by someone jumping up from under the water in the middle of the lake, taking an enormous deep breath, and then going back under. Run away, leave magnet and potential treasure behind. I've never been back since, and this was about 10 years ago. To say I shit my britches would be an understatement. Whoever it was didn't have any kind of breathing apparatus on them and we would have easily seen them enter the water, so I don't know what the fuck was going on. I usually avoid this board as most of the stories written on here are kinda goofy fanfic that wouldn't even pass a 6th grade creative writing class. trollmemphis.png.jpeg.webm.mov.mp4.mp3. I was raised on folklore and atrocities committed to our island, resulting in paranormal activity from my family's home island, which I would love to share one day. For now I have decided that I wanted to share my experience with the spooky in my motherland, Greece. Be me 6 years ago born in the US but lived internationally since 9 moved to my home island in Greece due to my father getting his dream job. I speak Greek at the equivalent level of an average high school student does. Spanish enrolled into public school where they teach in Greek. Make a good friend named Johnny. Pronounced Yane. Can barely communicate with each other but we made do on the island. There are many abandoned houses, businesses, hospitals, etc. Always go parkour in different ruins and explore. Sometimes we are lucky and find old photos or personal belongings from as far back as WW2 times. One time both our families drive up to my native village which held at its peak 3,000 people. But now only has 12 year-round residents. If you don't know, Greece is a very mountainous region. And my island especially is 90% mountains, so to get to our village we had to drive up the long, thin, windy road where the majority had no safety rails protecting the car from just flying off the side of the mountain. As we drive up the mountain we see the usual monuments or prayer sites erected to people who had drove off the mountain and died. Finally get to the village, we go and see a little hut right on the edge of the mountain which housed old boxes of bones with photos on them and names written in Greek. Our parents show us the boxes and even one of my ancestors who was buried here. They tell me the significance of why their bones were in boxes which I now forget. As they are tell the story, in the corner of my eye I see Johnny digging around in one of the boxes and putting something in his cargo shorts pocket. Eventually we fuck off and go explore the ruins of the village. We climb to the roof of one of the ruins. Johnny says something in Greek but all I understood was piss. He went to the side of the roof and pissed. Wait, why is he digging in his pants so much over there? He turns around and I see a whole bone sticking from his jean pants zipper and he does pretty much the modern day thug shaker. He points at it while laughing and in a heavy accent says ha 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 bon, boor. MFW, this is a sick motherfucker. Say the equivalent of you just defiled a grave, retard. He has a confused face for a second before the ground beneath him gives way and he falls off the roof. I run over to peek over the edge and he is writhing in pain holding his leg. Taking a closer look, his lower leg bone was completely snapped and his foot was dangling in the air completely perpendicular. My dumb ass thinks that if I return the bone to its grave it will fix his leg. Jump down, grab the bone and run to the hut and throw the bone in a random box near where I saw him take it from. Run back up to him dying of exhaustion. Remember, this is very mountainous terrain even being in the village. The absolute look of fucking horror on my face as I realize he is dead. He was just unconscious due to shock, but I didn't know that. Ran and got my parents take him to a hospital 30 minutes away with one doctor and one nurse. Since we are in the fucking mountain, Sakhavi, I think you guys get it now. Leg thankfully was a complete break but a clean one. Doesn't have the equipment to put a cast on but enough to get us down to the main city hospital. To this day I 100% believe that he pissed off some paranormal being, as I am certain the bone he took was the same bone he broke fucked his older sister. Years later still can't get bonjour out my head every time I bone his sister. MFW. I'm just posting this because I don't know what it was, but it's probably some psychology thing that's explainable. Hopefully someone has an idea. Be me, young lad. Ages 8 to 10 when sleeping. Intense feeling of ominous anxiety that wouldn't lapse. Felt so bad I could barely move. Always felt in my gut that something was coming for me but didn't know what. Normally would assume some kind of sleep paralysis but would often happen before I fall asleep. Finally forced myself to get out of bed and watch out my window from sundown to sunrise. Whole time I'm terrified. Piss myself at one point because I think something's going to kill me. Never feel it again. I am just curious at this point. Only time I've ever felt nearly as anxious was during a bad shroom trip, and that lacked the feeling that I was being pursued. Whenever I've talked to a doctor or something about this feeling, whatever they say, it could be also lacks that feeling of pursuit. I had Alice in Wonderland syndrome as a kid, so maybe that's related. About 15 and ready to go to school. Winter and it's been snowing heavily here. Footsteps approaching front door. That comfy crunch crunch you get when you walk on fresh snow. Just be the postman. Although he's several hours early, probably something to do with the weather. Go to front door. No mail, must have came here by mistake instead of next door. Leave to go to school. Set of footprints coming from my gate to my front door. None going back. Walk out of gate. Still early in the morning, so snow is completely untouched except for a set of footprints that start at the bottom of my street and come up to my front door. but go nowhere else. Parents hadn't left for work. I have no brothers or sisters. Even if I did, they wouldn't have walked out of the house and down the street backwards. Whoever it was could have retraced their steps after they realized they were at the wrong door. But what would be the point? Never answered it. Brothers, there's been lots of shenanigans since then involving that front door area too, but I won't bother getting into them.
Looking for something to meet your photonic need? Redlight has laser diodes, remote controlled rooms with lasers mounted on them, USB chargeable laser pens, rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, high-powered lasers that can ignite matches, cat toys. Hell, if you got enough money, they'd probably sell you a Jewish space laser. Welcome to Radlight. Point with precision, present with confidence. Visit us at radlight.dev. Tell them the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge sent you.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Heard you guys like eating Tide Pods. I should be here to tell you that's wrong. Not that I blame you all anyways. I'm such a snack, wouldn't you say?
Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.